Welcome, learners, to another deep dive. Usually we distill complex topics from articles, research, give you those essential nuggets.
Yeah.
But today we're tackling something really different, quite intense, actually.
Indeed. Yeah, this isn't your typical paper or, formal document.
Right.
What's interesting, really, is that our source today is, well, it's a direct recording, unedited, from an online broadcast. And it gives this raw, unfiltered look into a, let's say, very heated corner of online creator culture. Some deeply personal stuff.
Aggressive.
Yeah, aggressive is the word. So our mission today is really to sift through this challenging material, try to understand the dynamics playing out.
Exactly.
We'll look at the accusations, the defenses, the maybe the motivations behind it all, but staying impartial, that's key.
Absolutely.
And just a heads up for you listening, the original source has some very strong profane language. We'll paraphrase the really explicit bits, but we need to convey that intensity, focus on the dynamics.
Hopefully this dive gives some insight into how these, personal fights escalate online, what it says about the people behind the screens.
Yeah, and it raises a big question, doesn't it, for all of us?
Yeah.
How do we critically engage with this kind of content? When personal beefs, entertainment, alleged wrongdoing, it all just blurs together.
Yeah, incredibly blurred.
So we're going to unpack that using only what's in this source, looking at the strategy, the emotion involved.
Okay, so let's kick things off. Our main source, it zeroes in on one creator. He calls himself Sinner, and he's basically celebrating the removal of another creator's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Angela, Voice for the Voiceless.
And what hits you straight away is the emotion, right? The strong feeling of, vindication.
Totally.
Sinner calls Angela's channel getting removed a blessing. He says it's karma.
Wow.
Describes Angela with some really nasty terms. Claims she's been, quote, exploiting missing and deceased children and missing people's families for years by saying untrue things.
Okay, so really serious accusations there. But here's where it gets really interesting, I think. This duality. He denies being directly involved, but then he claims divine intervention.
Right. He says, I didn't even report or strike her channel one single time. Flat out denial.
But
then, yeah, he admits asking the universe to balance this out, calls it a prayer that got answered.
So it's like, he didn't do it, but he willed it.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's a fascinating move, isn't it? It lets him sort of wash his hands of direct action while still claiming that victory lap.
Yeah, controlling the narrative. My prayers were answered, not I took her down.
Precisely. It lets him claim the moral high ground, maybe, while still celebrating her channel's demise. A strategic ambiguity.
Okay, so that's the start, Angela's channel. But the broadcast, it widens up pretty quick, right?
Oh, yeah, he doesn't stick with just Angela for long.
No. He turns his attention elsewhere. Says, karma is real, and that train is coming for Rebecca explicitly.
And accuses her of frauding people, lying, making money off lies.
So the pattern emerges. Direct attacks.
Definitely. We see him calling out others too. Queen Bee, The Hive, Heather.
Right, and that claim about Heather driving hundreds of miles.
Yeah, alleges she drove 450 miles to harass my family and try to intimidate me. It shows this isn't just one isolated spat, it's wider, deeper.
And then the challenges get really personal, intense, like to white trash, no dick radio.
Saying he'll accept the challenge.
Yeah.
Uses some really harsh, racist and profane language there.
And even talks about a physical fight, setting conditions, demanding an opening match against someone called B. Tim.
Yeah.
What does that tell us when the rhetoric goes there towards physical threats?
Well, it shows how these online things can just escalate, right? Verbal attacks bleed into these really personal, hostile threats, sometimes even hinting at real-world confrontation.
Blurring lines.
Totally blurred.
Yeah.
It becomes this kind of digital war zone where extreme language is the main weapon, aiming for dominance, humiliation.
Okay, so let's dig deeper into those specific claims. Against Rebecca, they were
Incredibly serious, yeah, and highly personal.
allegations about drug distribution, something about minors and addiction in the community.
Yes, though he does sort of clarify the part about selling directly to children, he still links her alleged distribution to overdoses among high schoolers. Very specific, very damaging claims.
And then adds, selling liquor to minors, insults about her family life, her character.
It's extremely provocative language, designed to paint her as, quote, a garbage person, a violent maniac.
Yeah, dehumanizing.
Exactly, it's a tactic, right? Use these extreme, often unverified personal attacks. shift the focus away from any real issue onto just destroying someone's character. It justifies the aggression.
But then on the flip side, he fiercely defends somewhere else, Headstones, who he calls Emmy.
Right, claims Angela slandered her.
And his description of Emmy is completely different. Paints her as this respected high school teacher, master's degrees, homeowner.
Loved by staff, loved by students. A complete polar opposite image to how he paints Rebecca or Angela.
Yeah. And what were the alleged claims against Emmy that he was refuting?
The source says Angela supposedly claimed Emmy used school tokens or tickets to bribe students.
Bribe them for what?
To subscribe to her channel, implying, predatory behavior, even calling her a pet, according to Sinner.
Wow. Okay.
And Sinner just goes all out denying it, calls them absolute lies, defamation. He even says he'd delete his own channel if there was proof.
That's a strong statement. Shows how high the stakes feel in these conflicts.
Absolutely. The severity of those kinds of allegations within this online space. It's huge.
Which brings up this whole accountability thing online, doesn't it? Sinner says you can't tell lies and then make money off of it and expect you to stick around. But then he calls his own channel clean and serene, says he plays by the rules. It seems like a disconnect, given the language he's using.
That's a really sharp observation, and yes, is a very common disconnect you see. This self-proclaimed moral high ground, even while they're engaging in really aggressive, potentially defamatory stuff themselves, it often works to kind of legitimize their own actions, at least in their eyes, and for their followers.
Creates an us versus them. We're the good guys fighting the bad guys.
Exactly. Even if the tactics look pretty similar from the outside, that internal justification, however contradictory it seems, is crucial for maintaining that online persona.
That makes sense. And it links into the money side of things, too, the monetization.
Yes, he talks about that.
Advises others, basically, if you rely on YouTube to pay your bills, be careful, because it can vanish. Poof.
Uses Angela's situation as the cautionary tale. Don't defame people and slander people, or this could happen to you.
So it's not just about arguments, it's about livelihood, the professional stakes.
Absolutely. And he makes it explicit. He warns others by name, Wispy, Kathy P, Heather, tells them to shut up or you're next, specifically mentioning the monetization of their channels.
So it's an economic threat, essentially, tied into the public shaming.
Precisely. It reveals this whole economy of online influence where attacks can directly hit someone's wallet.
And then that slightly odd jab he takes at Angela's tech savviness, or her understanding of a deep dive.
Yeah, mocking her alleged lack of understanding of vertical live stream, or saying her idea of a deep dive is just comparing views.
Which is ironic because for you listening, this is what we mean by a deep dive, really getting into the source, looking for patterns, meaning not just surface stuff.
Exactly. It highlights how differently creators might see their own work. Its value, what even constitutes content or analysis, is up for grabs, apparently.
Connects to the bigger picture, right? The intensity, the often unverified claims in these online communities.
Definitely. Where personal attacks, public shaming, money, it all gets tangled up. And it makes it so hard to figure out what's actually true amidst all the noise and emotion.
Especially when, like you said, even the definition of a deep dive is part of the fight. And throughout all this, Sinner keeps calling himself the boogeyman.
Yeah, embraces being blamed for everything, leans into it.
Portrays himself as the winner, W after W after W.
It really shows how these online spaces, even though they're virtual, can just amplify these really personal fights, maybe even more intensely than offline sometimes.
Could be. And the language he uses for his opponents?
Just brutal. Useless goons, garden trolls, pathetic, garbage, scumbags, failed intimidators.
Dehumanizing again.
Systematically, yeah. It's a classic conflict escalation tactic. Makes it easier to justify being more and more aggressive, easier to dismiss anything they might say back.
So the broadcast basically wraps up with him still celebrating Angela's channel removal.
Yes, still celebrating that and making it clear Rebecca's channel is the next target. My eyes on the prize. The bees are going down.
Right. And that weird oxygen mask analogy at the end.
Advising Angela to take care of yourself first before you run over to another panel and sell your soul as they exploit you.
It's such a strange note to end on. Almost sounds caring. But after everything else...
It's oddly paternalistic, like you said. But it still comes wrapped in that same combative, self-serving tone that ran through the whole thing.
And it brings us back to that need to assign blame, maybe.
Yeah.
Even while denying you pulled the trigger yourself.
Yeah, how that plays out so publicly. For the attacker and the target, that concluding advice, practical as it might sound on the surface, is still part of the overall performance.
So this deep dive, definitely different. Not our usual knowledge nugget in terms of straightforward facts.
No, not at all.
But it's been a really powerful look at that raw, unfiltered human side of things online.
For sure. And the tactics used in these, well, digital battlegrounds.
It really makes you think about how we consume information in these supercharged spaces.
When the claims are so personal, so aggressive, maybe even tied to money, how do you, listening, separate facts from opinion or from just outright defamation?
Especially when the emotion is dialed up so high, it can just overwhelm everything else.
Exactly.
So the source material today, yeah, it was jarring, but maybe it prompts a useful reflection for all of us. Hopefully.
In a world where anyone can just broadcast their side of a fight, their accusations to potentially thousands, how do we get better at understanding what's really going on?
Without getting sucked into the drama ourselves.
Right. How do you stay objective, keep thinking critically, especially when the person broadcasting is actively trying to pull you onto their side into the conflict?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How to observe without participating. Something to really chew on.
All right, that about covers it for this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Make sure to turn your bell notifications on. Until next time, be well.